Okay, let's get right into it. Anthropic just rolled out an update to Claude Code that is, and I'm not exaggerating here, a total game changer. They've expanded its context window in a way that just fundamentally rewrites the rules for AI development. So we're going to break down what this actually means and, more importantly, how you can start using this power.
You know the feeling, right? If you've ever used AI for a project that's even a little bit complicated, you've been there. You're in the zone, making progress, and then bam, you hit the wall. The agent says it needs to compact the conversation. What that really means is it's summarizing your chat to save memory, and in the process, it just forgets all the older details. And just like that, poof, half the critical information you were just working with is gone. It's probably one of the biggest frustrations in AI coding today. Or, well, it was.
Anthropic has cranked up Claude Code's context window from 200,000 tokens all the way to 1 million. Now, if you're not deep in the AI world, you can think of a token as basically a piece of a word, like 4 characters of text. So 1 million tokens, that's about 750,000 words. We are not talking about a small bump here. This is a complete transformation of the entire landscape.
Just to put that into perspective, that's a 5-fold increase in capacity. A 5x leap. And this isn't some beta feature you have to sign up for and wait. Nope, this is generally available right now for both the Opus and Sonnet models. It's like developers were just handed a canvas that's 5 times bigger to work on.
Okay, so let's talk about the business side of this for a sec, because this is huge. While competitors like Gemini and GPT basically double their prices when you start using these larger context windows, Anthropic is doing something different. They're offering a single, standard rate across the entire 1 million tokens. This makes everything so much simpler and actually makes it affordable to use all that power.
So what's the first thing you can do with this? Well, the most obvious benefit is working with massive files. And I don't just mean big code files. Think about huge product requirement documents, or giant complex CSV files for data analysis, or those super dense spec sheets with all the tricky business logic. Before, you'd have to chop these things up, summarize them, and you'd always lose critical details in the process. Now, you can just load the whole thing.
And that new capacity just completely flips the script on your workflow. The old way was, well, it was painful. It was slow and sequential. You tell the agent, okay, implement this feature. Then you'd have to clear the context and then move on to the next one. For a big project with, say, 200 or 300 features, you were basically just babysitting the AI, one tiny step at a time. Not exactly efficient.
Now, you might have tried to speed things up by grouping a few related features together, but even trying to group 2 or 3 was a gamble. You'd hit that context limit, the compaction would kick in, and the agent would totally lose track of what it just did. With 1 million tokens, that risk is almost gone. You can now safely bundle 5 times the amount of features into a single efficient chunk of work, which we're going to call a wave.
This opens up a whole new playbook. Seriously. Instead of that slow, one-by-one approach, you can now have the AI look at an entire application spec, intelligently figure out all the dependencies between features, and group them into these waves. And then, and this is the really cool part, you can assign each wave to a different agent to build them all in parallel.
And this is where it starts to feel like we're living in the future, because now we're talking about AI agent teams. This huge context window makes something possible that was just a pipe dream before, real collaboration between AIs. As the quote says, these different agents can now actually talk to each other, coordinate, and build the application as a team.
Now, here's the crucial detail. Before this update, even if you had a team of agents, each one was still stuck in its own little 200,000 token box. So they could easily forget what their AI teammates were up to, which led to all sorts of errors and dropped context. Now, with this giant shared workspace, they can handle these complex interconnected waves of work without that constant threat of amnesia.
This also means you can create much more sophisticated teams. You can start creating specialized agents. For example, you could have a QA expert agent, or how about a devil's advocate agent? Its entire job would be to poke holes in the work, question the quality, and make sure the final product is actually ready for production. Which brings us to this pretty funny little story from the source material. While they were testing all this, an agent, just randomly named Paul, showed up in the team. Nobody knew why he was named Paul. His job? Devil's advocate. And what did Paul do? He promptly crashed. It's a great reminder that we're still on the bleeding edge here. Poor Paul.
Okay, let me share a bit of a horror story to show you why this really matters. A developer friend of the author had an agent build this massive 400-plus feature app. The only problem? The AI made some bad assumptions and built it on an old, outdated tech stack. The only solution was a full migration, but with the old 200K limit, it was a total disaster. The agent just couldn't see the whole project at once, the context was constantly being lost, and critical details just vanished.
And the cost of that tiny context window was staggering. By the time this nightmare migration was over, about 30%, a third, of the app's entire functionality was just gone. It just got dropped because the agent literally couldn't hold the whole picture in its memory.
And this is exactly why this update is so important. With a 1 million token window, the AI could have seen the entire codebase all at once in a holistic way. It would have understood how all the pieces connected, and it could have turned that near-total failure into a success.
So the takeaway here is that this 1 million token number is so much more than just a bigger number. It really represents a fundamental shift. It means we can take on more ambitious projects. It means much faster development cycles, thanks to parallel work. It means we can finally build truly collaborative AI teams. And it means far fewer of those lost in translation errors that happen when the AI just can't remember what you told it 5 minutes ago.
Which leaves us with one last really fascinating thought. For so long, the size of the context window has been the biggest bottleneck for doing complex things with AI. Now that that bottleneck has just been blown wide open, it forces us to ask a whole new question. If context isn't the limit anymore, what is?